Howdy folks, I'm Original Orchids, outrageously occupying orange offices.
I'm Amber.
Now the question is, Amber, are the offices orange or are they for the fruits?
I was assuming they were the color orange, but they could be offices for oranges.
Well, I'm assuming because I'm a sentient breathing flower that we would also have sentient breathing fruits as well.
Yeah, and you gotta occupy their offices because they're misbehaving.
They're trying to take over the world, which is my job. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Ghosting My Now Ex-Wife? Sorry, English is the second language. My wife is a 36-year-old female and I'm a 39-year-old male, and we got married 3 years ago, but dated for over a decade beforehand. No kids or any other commitments to care for, thankfully. Back in January, I realized that I was wasting my life with her, and that I would be better off being a bachelor. I felt sad, having wasted my youth on getting involved seriously with someone. The problem? Our relationship has no problems, so I felt that I had no backing to get out of it. She was a very supportive wife, we both agreed on mostly everything, and never had any big or reoccurring arguments. I felt terrible, but I wanted out. So, I quietly separated our finances. I leased out an apartment in my name. I got a new phone so that I would have no connection to her or any way for her to contact me. And when the time was right, I left without a word. I left my key and an old phone at the house, and I moved on to my new life. And I felt so much better. Now I can live my ideal bachelor life without being tied down and having nothing to worry about. I planned on mailing her all of the papers that we needed from a P.O. box, but that is far enough from where I live that she cannot come and find me. Apparently, she doesn't realize that the relationship was over because she freaked out and she called the police and said that I was missing, which I think was a bit of an overreaction. They found out where I was at, and my mother, who I didn't tell since I knew that she would be too emotional and too sentimental over our relationship to understand me, forces us to have a sit-down conversation to talk it out. When my wife saw me, she cried and hugged me and asked what happened, and I told her that I ghosted her, and she needs to get over me. She was offended and asked why and what she did wrong, and I just told her that I was done with the relationship. I told her that I would mail her the papers soon, but my mom interrupted and asked what was wrong with me. I told her that it was none of her business, and she was mad with me and said that I shouldn't blow my wife off like this. I knew neither of them would get it, so I just got up and left. I was on a date with someone new, and I told her about this, and she told me I was wrong and cruel to do that to my wife, and she has no interest in seeing me anymore after finding this out. Now I feel like maybe I'm in the wrong. Was I in the wrong? Alright folks, what do you think? Is OP in the wrong? I mean, the wedding vows clearly state, until death do we part, until we get bored, whichever one comes first, right? I mean, like, yeah, fair.
I mean, yeah, OP is a major jerk here. You need to communicate. It sounds like, from the wife's perspective, there was absolutely nothing wrong with this relationship. They mostly agree on everything. She's done everything she can to support him. He just disappears one day.
Yeah.
Like, of course she's gonna assume that he's been kidnapped or something. You know, like, that's the logical conclusion. So OP is acting immature, here. He is being very irresponsible. Mm-hmm. You can dissolve a relationship for whatever reason you want, but you have to deal with the consequences. And it sounds like he just wants to run and forget about her and live his new life. And that's not how the world works.
No, it's not. Yeah, no, it's not how you handle a relationship at all. I mean, this is... like, it's no wonder she was concerned about him. And I think if I were her, I would still be worried and concerned about him, because this feels more like something, mentally wrong at this point in time. And maybe it's fine. Maybe he doesn't have any, major things going on wrong. But, like, sometimes people can have episodes where they aren't themselves for one reason or another. And maybe it would be worth OP going and getting checked out for something, maybe like a tumor or any number of things that can cause people to change their behavior. Because up until this point, it sounds like everything was fine, and then just like one day he decided he wasted his life with somebody.
I mean, to be fair, that just sounds like a midlife crisis for a lot of people. Like, there's plenty of people who hit, their late 30s, 40s, and are like, oh, wow, I'm wasting my life. I've got to go buy a sports car and get divorced.
Well, I guess there are midlife crises, so I mean that's fair. That's fair. I think that OP is extraordinarily cruel, and I
Mm-hmm.
would be surprised if he can ever get another date again with a backstory like this. He better just hide it. And how did you? Well, what happened with your wife? Well, I just ghosted her one day. Oh, well, that's really interesting. And then they never see you again. I do not know what OP was thinking here. You can't ghost someone you're married to. Like, ghosting somebody when you're in a like casual relationship is one thing. Ghosting your partner who has legal ties to you and has a certain like legal connection to you, you can't do that. You just can't ghost them. And also, after spending so much time with your wife, she deserves an answer on why you're no longer with her.
Yeah, well, I think that's the most frustrating, infuriating part of this all is that he's so like, well, I don't have a good reason. So this woman who has supported me and been there for me, I'm just gonna leave her high and dry and make her think I'm dead in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and even if you don't have a good reason for it, if you're just unhappy in a relationship, you're allowed to sit
Mm-hmm.
down and be an adult and have an adult conversation and say, "Hun, I love you. I think that there's a lot of great things here, but I just don't feel like I can do this relationship anymore. It's nothing to do with you. It's everything to do with me. I just blah 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 blah, right?"
And it's of course like she's probably going to have an emotional reaction for that. She's probably going to try and get you to do counseling or work things out or something. But that's what happens when you end a long-term relationship. It's
Hmm.
not an easy, oh, well, I'm just going to disappear and never see this person again.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way. So yeah, I feel like this was a really irresponsible thing to do. I know that they don't have any kids or anything like that, but they still had a wife who was worrying about them, their welfare, and their safety, and again, nothing perceived to be wrong. So I really don't think this guy has much in the way of prospects that as much as prospects as he thinks he has. Just the audacity of him being like, my mom cares too much about my wife, and she wouldn't have a clear vision of what was going on
Well, that's the
here.
thing is he's like what he's doing is would concern any reasonable person and
Hmm.
upset any reasonable person. He's like these women just being too emotional. They're weirdly attached to relationships.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck to OP's wife.
Yeah.
And Buffy Wannabe 13 says, "You're a bad person. Point blank, period. No way around it. I hope you stay alone forever." And OP replies, "Luckily for you, I don't plan on getting married again, so no worries, but I meet plenty of lovely lady friends, so I apologize for not completely isolating myself just because you find this one action offensive." I mean, I think it's a
It's a series.
serial, yeah, a series of things here, OP. It's not a individual one thing that makes you a unsavory
It's
character.
just this one tiny little thing. I, separated finances discreetly, bought a new place, got a new phone, so she'd never have my number, on and on.
Yeah. But I mean, I think like his reasoning here is like, oh, just because like you do one crime, right? Everyone can't judge you your whole life or say you're a bad person just because you like murder one person. Oh no. I mean, I just murdered one person.
Right, that's where the logic breaks down is like it doesn't matter if you do all these other great things, which I question whether OP does, when you do something of this magnitude, when you can treat another human being with so much callousness.
And OP replies, "I just wanted to add that I ghosted her because I feel like I didn't need to give her closure. She isn't entitled to Jack just because we're married. That is not legally true. She is entitled to like marital assets that you have in this relationship. She's entitled to a lot of things. Just because
Mm-hmm.
you think she isn't doesn't mean she is or is not." And Similar Corner 8081 says, "Sounds like you don't like your wife. Do you really think ghosting your wife at your age is acceptable? Especially ghosting a woman you've been with for a decade. Just decided F you and you don't deserve a conversation or notice. I will just leave and do whatever I want. You don't think the way you went about divorcing her is pretty garbage? Come on, man. You don't even tell her what you were doing. You just ghosted her. I could understand if she was abusive to you and you were scared, but that's not what happened here." I mean, I do actually think that's a good point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are certain cases where leaving a relationship under secret is perfectly acceptable if you're in trouble or this person is going to hurt you or harm you or hunt you down. That is a reason to leave a relationship without giving a notice, right? So if your life is in danger, if you are in danger, if this person is hurting you, then yes, there's certainly ghosting somebody is a viable option to get out of this. And OP replies, no one is owed an explanation. I have full right to leave if I please, and have to say nothing about it. I bet if it was a woman ghosting her husband, you would be like, go girl, leave him. Also, she is my ex-wife now, not my wife anymore, so don't call her that. Edit to clarify, I do not hate her, I just don't want to be married to her anymore. However, I do not like her overreaction and freaking out, despite me obviously being just done being around her. Ghosting doesn't mean that you hate them, get over yourself. I mean, you can't treat another person like this and expect people not to say you hate them.
Well, and can you imagine if like you went missing and I was like, oh my goodness, Brian, I'm so glad you're safe. Where were you? Like, and being like, how dare Amber have an emotional reaction to finding that I'm alive and well?
Yeah. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for telling my wife that there's nothing weird about giving away my niece at her wedding and that my wife has no say in it at all? My niece is a 26-year-old female, and her wedding is in a month, and she wants me to give her away at her wedding. Her father passed away when she was really young, and I felt a moral obligation to help my sister and her daughter, because my sister, too, helped me when I was growing up a lot. I knew I had an obligation to my wife and children primarily, but that doesn't mean that I couldn't help out my sister and her daughter too, since they live just 10 minutes away from us. I tried to be as physically active as possible in my niece's life when she was growing up. My wife and I have had a few arguments on this over the years. I have also been sending money to my sister every month for the past decade or so. It is from my individual account, not the joint account my wife and I share, so I have full liberty to spend it however I want, but my wife does know about it, and we've had arguments on this as well. Now coming to the point, my niece wants me to give her away at her wedding next month, but my wife thinks that it's very weird and she doesn't want me to do it. I told my wife that there's nothing weird about it, and her opinion on this is irrelevant. We had a lot of discussion on this over the past week, and I am made to feel like the bad guy by my wife. Am I the bad guy? Am I the jerk here if I were to give my niece away at her wedding? All right, folks, what do you think about the contrast between this story and the last story?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say not the jerk here, assuming that OP hasn't significantly neglected his family.
Yeah.
Like with these stories, you never know for 100% sure, but I'm going to take the charitable route, assume that his wife is just being jealous here, in which case she should probably get some therapy to work through those feelings, because it's possible to love and care for your like nuclear family and also to care for your extended family at the same time.
Yeah, I think that what OP has done is a really nice thing. It seems like he stepped in and tried to be as much of a father to this young woman as possible, and that's what family is all about, right? Supporting each other and helping each other. And I don't fault him for that. And again, like Amber said, if he did go out of his way and was neglecting his actual, wife and kids, then that would be a really problematic thing. But if they live 10 minutes away, I'm sure that he was able to allocate his time wisely. And as for him giving away his own personal money, I don't think like the wife really should have much say on that, right? I mean, if it's from your fun money, from your personal account.
Yeah, if it's agreed upon that these are separate finances that you're able to do with as you please and not like taking from the finances they need for the household, then there's nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Mid Vibrations says, what reason did your wife had for it being weird? And Opie replies, she didn't give many reasons, like for example, one reason being that we have a daughter who isn't married yet, and feels like I am closer to my niece than my daughter, which isn't true at all. And then she says, symbolically, me going to my niece's wedding as her father figure, while my sister is there being her mother, and she thinks that's weird.
I mean, the wife just needs to get over herself here, as long as OP's bio children don't feel neglected, and according to OP, they don't, so that's fine. There's nothing wrong with having a fatherly role in his niece's life, and it's not weird. Like, lots of people have siblings or uncles walk them down the aisle. It doesn't make it weird because there's relationships there.
Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for wanting my roommate's boyfriend to stop eating my groceries even though he pays for them. So I'm a 27-year-old male, and I live with my roommate Sarah, a 26-year-old female. Things have been good, except for one thing: her boyfriend, Sean, a 28-year-old male. Sean stays over a lot, like several nights a week. Honestly, it wouldn't be a huge deal except for the food situation. This dude has a serious appetite, and he seems to think that the fridge is a free-for-all. Here's the twist: whenever he eats something of mine, he immediately Venmos me the money. Every single time, and usually for a little more than it's worth. Well, last week he devoured half of my carton of almond milk, my morning coffee essential, and instantly sent me $5. It's kind of annoying, but hey, at least he's paying me back, right? Here is the problem: it disrupts my grocery planning. The constant need to replace my food throws off my schedule. Plus, it's just inconsiderate. Like, shouldn't he at least ask before polishing off my yogurt? The other day, I got a Venmo payment for $50, and I came home to find Sean cooking a giant lunch spread with all the ingredients that I just bought. I calmly explained that while I appreciate him paying me back, I would prefer him to ask before grabbing my stuff. He apologized, and Sarah seemed a bit miffed, and the tension was thick. Now Sarah thinks that I'm being petty because Sean always reimburses me right away with interest. Am I the jerk for wanting some respect for my groceries even though I get paid back? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, it's not about the money, it's about the convenience, because OP is the one who has to go to the store and buy all the groceries.
Yeah.
So if Sean is eating all his groceries, yeah, sure, OP's get the money there. But then if he's been planning his, weekly meals around certain things, they're not there. And if he's running out of food sooner, that means he's got to go food shopping sooner.
Yeah, I think that I might say this is a rare no one's the jerk situation if OP hasn't said anything to Sean up to this point. Because Sean's not a mind reader, and if OP hasn't expressed his discomfort with this arrangement, then Sean might be like, oh, everything's okay with this. He seems to be fine with me, eating the food as long as I pay it back. And it seems like Sean genuinely wants to do the right thing. Like, even in this interaction, he seemed like he was taken aback by it, that he didn't expect OP to be upset by this. So I think that OP might have done themselves a disservice by not speaking up sooner and saying, hey, Sean, I really appreciate what you're doing with paying me back, but blah, blah, blah. And during a time when he's not cooking or actively using the food,
Yeah, well, it sounds like it started with small things, and it's just because it's escalated to big things, and it's really gotten to the point where OP's like, okay, I gotta put a stop to this.
Yeah. So I think now if Sean continues to do this, then he would be in the wrong, but he's got his warning now, and I think, I don't think OP's wrong for wanting their food not to be eaten all and explain that this really messes up their schedule. So, yeah, I don't know, but let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber is going to tell us something that Jovial Bobstein wrote.
Where did the hat maker go on her vacation?
Where did the hat maker go on her vacation? She went to visit the Mad Hatter in Alice's Wonderland.
To the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, yeah? The
Kentucky. I can't say that word.
Oh, Kentucky today. Derby. I thought she said Kentucky Derby.
I probably said that. I just cannot say it.
But why?
I mean, they wear the big hats, I'm assuming.
I don't know anything about the Kentucky... Now you've got me saying it. The Kentucky Derby, too.
Literally the only thing I know about the Kentucky Derby is that people wear, big fancy hats.
Oh, no. I have no idea about this, so I would not have even known that. And I have licorice spice. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, terrific Tuesday, folks. Spelled TWO. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on ghosting your spouse.
Acceptable forms of ghosting your spouse. Putting a little ghost up on the tree outside because they love Halloween. Unacceptable forms of ghosting. Vanishing without a trace, leading them to assume that you are dead in a ditch somewhere.
Probably, in general. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!